Hi, can you hear me? My name is Jonny Dailey. I am the founder of Dailey, a software company out of Connecticut. We have a number of products, SaaS products, and so on, but my flagship product right now is called Dailey OS. And Dailey OS is an answer to a problem that I had as a developer, which was, um, you know, every time I set up a new app, I would have to set up a new login system. I would have to set up storage again and all everything that goes into that, and SSL with security and databases and redundancy and everything. So out of that, and like what I call my sawdust is came Daily OS. And Daily OS is has been a labor of love, but it's really vibe coder first. And I wanted to just take a few minutes to just kind of go over some of the product. And then if you have questions, please feel free to raise your hand and ask at any time. Here, let me go forward. So the whole premise behind it is development is a creative endeavor. Like a musician wants to pick up a guitar, a artist wants to paint, but a developer as a creative is kind of expected to do a lot more to get their creative vision out. And a lot of these barriers can be like an app store or even publishing your website or whatever it is to the web. And we want to kind of cut that in half because if a filmmaker had to build their camera from scratch because they wanted to shoot a film, then that wouldn't work for them. And if an artist had to build the easel every single time they wanted to just, put something up so they can actually make art, that wouldn't be good either. So we want to take the hard parts of being creative for a developer and just kind of take care of that for you. So the ideas that you've had for years, you can kind of get out in an afternoon. And there's a new way that we're doing it. I don't know if anybody has used Claude Dispatch before, but I'm able to now, and this is something that I'm going to give tutorials and videos on, and you guys are actually giving me a lot of insight into how I should promote and teach this product. So I thank all of you for that. But with Claude Dispatch from my phone, I can completely launch to Daily OS. Just by prompting into Claude, it's on my computer. It does the things it needs to do, and you can update your website and do everything. And it's really amazing. I have a friend who launched the site recently. So software used to take a long time to make. You needed several different people from several different disciplines in order to make that work. It's expensive, it's hard, and you have to get it right. Security is a very, very hard thing to get right, and things are changing all the time. There's these things called CVEs that drop all the time. So if there's an exploit in a piece of software, they put that out to everybody who's using the software so we can, put patches in. I deal with that as a platform owner a lot. If Linux has some kind of bug that came out 25 years ago and they just discovered it today, I have to patch immediately because all of my customers are affected by that. So all of this stuff requires, front end. You can have a front end team. You can have several people on the front end. You can have several people on the back end. You can have people on security. You can have people on just infrastructure. And it could take weeks. This is just kind of an estimate, weeks and thousands of dollars in order to get those things done. But with vibe coding, that's changed a lot. A lot of these jobs that could sometimes took teams of people are now kind of at your fingertips. So you don't really need all of this extra work and all these extra people to kind of get these jobs done because that barrier for you getting your app and your idea out no longer takes a budget and a team of a bunch of people in order to get it done. You can do things as simply as saying to Claude, I need a page that lists my coffee shop inventory. Claude will reach out. I need to add a little badge when it hits the threshold. Claude will take care of that for you. And having the infrastructure piece tied into Claude is the step where people typically stop. So we were talking about language. I think of vibe coding as using intent and natural language to build software. I was before saying that the most powerful programming language is English, but not most of the world doesn't speak English, so that doesn't make a lot of sense. It's just the intent that you have in the natural language that you speak that's incredibly important to programming software now. It's not about learning syntaxes every single time now. I know there are developers at Claude. I watched a video the other day where he said he hasn't opened a text editor for coding in 24 months. So he's only prompting and he's running Claude. He's running the website. He's running a bunch of different other projects internally. People aren't looking at code like they used to anymore. So when it's this expressive language, how do you take something that's expressive that someone who's a creative can build something with, and now say, hey, you need to really think about security, and you need to think about databases and distribution. That's a really hard problem. So it needs more than code. AI gives you code on your laptop that isn't an app yet. And there's that second, the code that runs locally with localhost, and then there's what you have publicly that people can actually get to and customers can open in a browser. So this is a part that is very important. These are the things that I think you need to run a modern web application. You need servers, you need auth and logins, database, SSL, you need deployment so you can get that stuff out there. You need monitoring to know when something goes wrong. Like if your users are trying to log in, but the database broke, how do you know that? You need logs so you can actually look at your system and see what's going on in the system. And you need scaling. If a lot of you are speakers, like you go and you speak. So sometimes if you're going on TV or you're speaking at a large conference, people are going to be hitting your website. Your website may need to scale a little bit so it can handle that extra load so that people aren't, hitting a dead wall, and you want to make that sale, you want to make that connection. That's where we come in, where you can actually, naturally say, you can even say to Claude, and I put this in here, hey, I'm going on TV today. I need more replicas. And it'll just be like, okay, it just spins up more replicas for you. It's amazing. I love using the tool. And again, most people stop at this part because it's not fun anymore. Making an AWS account, looking at, has anybody logged into AWS before and like seen the AWS panel? You need a master's class. Like they make all these funny names and it's really confusing. It's highways and it was a nightmare, which is why I try to be the anti-AWS, which is you can get certifications and do all that stuff. And if you're interested in cloud engineering, that's great. But if you just want to be creative, you don't want to have to worry about your EC2 instance and how and the image that's going to go on it and so on, I think that's a nightmare for most people. But we handle all of that. So your app is at the top of the stack. And then below that is your database and backups, which we take care of for you, your servers and your auto scaling, your SSLs and domains, DNS, we do logs and monitoring, we do secrets and encryption. We take care of all that. I took all of my 20 years of experience, put that into the product so you can just be creative. And you can do this right now. It all works really, really well. Some people in this meeting now have sites on Dailey OS, which is really, really cool. And your AI lets you handle it. So my hope is that people don't really use the dashboard. There's a whole dashboard you could log into. If you're a classic dev, you can use the terminal. I have a CLI tool in the terminal, so you can completely talk to it through the CLI. By CLI, for somebody who doesn't know, that stands for command line interface. So if you open up a terminal in your computer, you can talk directly to the service by putting commands in. You would put my last name in, Dailey, and then whatever command that was. So you can talk to it directly through the terminal, but Claude could also take over that CLI piece and do that for you as well. But you can do things like, say, create a project called Coffee Inventory, set up a database table for items, deploy the latest build, tell the law. You could tell you just speaking this natural language into Claude or Codex or whatever tool you want to use, whatever you're most comfortable with. And it's getting that job done for you inside of Dailey OS. Now, the tool, Dailey OS doesn't care what you're using with it. So I recommend for a lot of people, get a free account on Dailey OS and then use a free tool called OpenCode. So you don't have to pay for a Claude subscription and you don't have to pay for Dailey OS in order to get a site up. You get one site for free. We give that to everybody. So you can literally have one free site, talk to a free AI forever, unlimited tokens because it's on your computer. And you can deploy your site and completely manage it from the terminal. One benefit of having something like Claude is that, they're always developing new ways to make Claude really useful. I don't know if anybody here has used the tool called Superpowers. It's incredibly useful as far as writing notes down. So I'm going to highly recommend that. And I think I'm going to start giving sessions on certain pieces. So if people want to join anything, I'm happy to help out with that. But there's this one called Superpowers I started using it probably like 3 days ago. It has just cut the work in half for design. I know a lot of people here are coming from tools like Lovable, which is this really beautiful web design. This tool that I'm using now with Superpowers and writing notes, it tells you, it's like, okay, open up your browser, go to this local page, and then you work with Claude as you're typing, and it's just updating the web page. Okay, I want this over here, and it'll just do it. And it's like it tells you, hey, if you want to make this a real product, it's going to take a lot of tokens. Let's work through it first, and then we'll get a kind of a mock-up, and then we'll go into production. Incredibly useful. So just doing that expressively from your terminal, which I want people to get comfortable with, is something that you can do, but you can also use tools to talk to our MCP server that are not terminal tools. You can use it in Lovable if you wanted to, because it can connect to our MCP. It's all through an API. So here are a few, I couldn't fit all of them on the screen, a few of the 66 commands that I made for Dailey OS. So you can do a number of these things. If you, in natural language, say like, hey, can you show me the structure of my database? It knows it's going to talk to DB schema. If you want to execute something in your node, it knows it's going to use the DB execute function that we built. If you want to figure out your domains or restart your processes or spin up new nodes or whatever you would like to do with your service, you can do it directly through Claude. So this is not you going through what's called like a YAML file or building a Docker file, which, if you want to, it's great. You should do that. But if you just want to expressively talk to your system, this is a great way to do it. Sorry, one sec. And you don't run commands, you just talk. So I know a lot of people are now, and I've done it a couple times. It's not for, I'm around too many people to do this, but a lot of people are talking to their code editors now and just saying like, well, I'm looking for this, and like having a dialogue and a conversation, because sometimes it's easier than typing it out. I'm still Mr. 2 pages, writing a prompt and then getting that into the system so it understands me. But I think, that's a realm that people are going to go down. And of course, I'll want to support that if that's what people want. But here are some examples here on the screen. Spin up a project, how many signups, because it knows your database, right? Roll it back, because actually I'm having issues with this version that I just launched. I know it launched successfully, but people are having problems. Let's roll it back to the last version. Hook up the blog to my main database. We do connections, safe connections in your own little tenant. So if you have an app in a database and they're not connected, you can connect them. You can just express what you want to the system, and the system is going to take care of that for you. And that's why it's designed for creators to create. This is a fun little scenario thing, but at night, you could, and this is the thing that I'm talking about with dispatch, you can from your phone open up the Claude app, go to dispatch, and just say, I'm looking to do this thing. I need a time tracking app that I'm going to use tomorrow because I'm going on a hike with my son. And you could say anything, right? And it's going to be like, okay. And then it's just going to build it for you. Like Zena said, having a good PRD is everything, right? One-shotting tools is not the best option because you're not going to get the best result out of it. But you can say, I need something really fast. I want to play an offline tic-tac-toe game because I'm going on a road trip. Let it do it for you. It'll build it. It'll just launch it for you, and you'll have the website ready. It'll give you a domain. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff, and you can click it and just start working on it immediately. I think Dailey OS is a really good way to prototype ideas. So instead of having to deal with all of the logins and all the everything, you can just kind of think of something that you want to do, see how it works in real time, and then, okay, I'm going to throw that website away and I'll just build another one when I have another idea, or send it to your friends because it's a live site. And we also handle user accounts and all that stuff that you can just drop into your app. The MCP server knows about that. So that's a part of it as well. And this is one of the actual apps that's running, but you can launch an app at night, still be running in the morning. You can see all the resources within the dashboard. You can update your domain if you want to as well. So if you have a .com domain or a .net or whatever, you don't have to use the .daily.cloud domain. That's just something I give you for free. You can just put your domain over it, and many people have. It's running a lot of really cool projects. A friend showed me this game that he wrote the other day, and just blew my mind. But you have all of that directly inside the dashboard. But again, I think a lot of people won't use the dashboard. I think sometimes you'll have to log in, like when you want to. I'm trying to think, is there anything in the dashboard you'd have to do that you couldn't do? Yeah, logging into GitHub for the first time, things like that. But other than that, I really think the MCP tool is going to be how people really interact with Dailey OS. So you have your idea, you have a live URL before bed, and it just expresses and does everything for you. And the world that we're in where this can happen is pretty remarkable. It was probably like 15 or 20 years ago. I was listening to this podcast, and they had this, it was like American Idol for apps, but this is like 15 years ago. And it was a radio host named Leo Laporte. And what they would do is they would like, it was like a bracket for like this app, and whoever won, this company had agreed to build the app if this person won this thing. And it was going to take like a year and a half for them to build, because this is all just manual engineering, old classical dev. And I remember the host saying one day, he was like, one day you'll be able to just type into a computer what you want and it'll just make the program. And I remember thinking, that's not possible. That's impossible to do. Um, and now I do it every single day. And anybody can do it. So anyone who's never programmed or written a line of HTML or JavaScript or even knows what those technologies are, you can just be expressive and have something that's real and something that you can use right now. You can sign up for free. No one has to pay. You can have a free website forever. You can have with a free MCP tool forever. I won't ever let that go, because the only reason I'm able to do what I'm able to do is because I had free tools available to me. So those will always be available forever. So everybody will get a website. If you needed more websites, like 5, 10, 20, of course, you can pay and scale up, but that's not necessary, especially to get started. You can do Dailey OS 100% for free. I'm not trying to sell you anything, but I think this is a good platform that people can use. I have to go in a minute, so I can take like 2 minutes of questions if anybody has any. And then please, if you haven't or haven't set up time with me or anything yet, please feel free to reach out and book that time with me. Let me stop sharing now. And yeah, that was my presentation. Thanks.
Jonny. Yeah, we're getting time with you, so we'll ask our questions.